ChatGPT started the race to AI. So this became the start of the AI era, like the Sputnik moment. We're moving into a future where technology is everywhere. This can be very good or very bad, depending on how we use it. So how do we keep technology from going bad? Our ticket to the future is not science, technology, and engineering. The primary function that we have is to figure out what to do with the others, how to have intuition, how to have empathy, compassion, understanding.
Do you see the influence of the AI in Kazakhstan? I don't know, in the organizational process maybe, or in something that we face every day?
I think I see more technology being used in general. The influence of AI really is still very select people. That is because people are using ChatGPT to ask questions, or that's kind of starting here now. Right? In Europe, it's everywhere. But I think a lot of people are trying AI, but really using it. There are not so many people yet. This is also still very American in many ways, or Chinese, you could say. But in Europe, it's also slow. People know what it is, but they don't really understand what it does.
Okay. So in other words, the penetration of AI in the world is kind of different, right?
Absolutely. It takes a long time. It's only been a year and a half, since ChatGPT came out. And I think people hear about it, and then they have, of course, concerns about it, like because they see Hollywood films about it, Black Mirror, things like that. And they're worried about their jobs. And, it's, I think primarily in many countries, it's a concern. And young people are excited about it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And video makers and so on with the tools, the generative AI.
Right.
And companies are excited because they can be more efficient.
Yes. I know that Coke actually were one of the first companies who hired the whole marketing department with the AI, right?
Yes. Well, because, they see a way of creating more content that is faster to make and faster to spread.
Right. But your book, Technology versus Humanity, it was written in 2016, which it was before the mainstream.
Right.
And what was the difference between the dialogue that time? It's been almost eight years since the technology is developed quite fast. So what is the difference between the challenge at that time and now when it is everywhere?
Yes, I would say the book has been pretty much covered AI already back then, because we did already have AI then, right? It's just what happened with ChatGPT and AI was that this became like the Sputnik moment, the Russian satellite, which started the race to space. And ChatGPT started the race to AI, because before that you had many products, but people weren't publicly showing them, So this became the start of the AI era, just like the Americans went to the moon after Sputnik, right? And then it was finished. So it's kind of like this. And I wrote the book in many ways. Many things in the book are still very accurate. It's just that I don't use the term AI all the time. But, this is one thing that was already clear 10 years ago, that we're moving into a future where technology is everywhere.
Right.
And we have superpower, and this can be very good or very bad, depending on how we use it, like all technology. Yeah.
Right.
And this was the main theme of the book. So how do we keep technology from going bad is by international collaboration, by personal moderation, things like that. So this is the main topic of the book. How do we keep technology in a good place?
How we do it? What like in one sentence or maybe three?
Well, I think to keep technology good, we have to first understand the side effects, I often say it's like climate change. When we have the Industrial Revolution and we had the steam engine and, then we could drive, and we could have factories and all of a sudden, the environment, the pollution went from flatline to this, So the side effect of climate change, of using oil and gas was, worldwide pollution. And we didn't really understand this until now. Right? So with artificial intelligence is the same. So we have this amazing technology, we get very excited and it makes a lot of money. Right?
Yes.
But the side effects are things like loneliness, like you do on social media, or you start substituting people with machines.
Yes.
And you have robots doing the work, and you have AI answering questions. And so we have confusion about truth. We have a decline of democracy. We have all of these side effects. And so to keep it positive, we have to look at the side effects, and we have to say, okay, if the side effects are like this, we have to have rules. And we have to be careful about what causes the side effects. So the problem was with climate change is that we did not make the oil companies responsible. They could do whatever they wanted.
Right.
And some laws, yes. And now we have the same problem. We have to make technology companies responsible for the use of these tools, right?
Right. But coming back to the psychological part of the side effect, so about the loneliness, about abandonance, or instead, like Black Mirror is here already, so you can talk to a person feeling to an AI intellect and considering him or her as your partner for life. How would companies regulate it? So they would prohibit, or ask you have to go through the criteria when your psychological, health is on that level that you can use it, or how could this be
Well, I think a
regulated?
practical example is, for example, what Apple is doing with their AI. For the artificial intelligence of Apple is going to be in the system to make you more empowered.
Okay.
So it will organize your photos or answer your emails or be better maps, practical things. Yeah.
Right.
But OpenAI wants to build a machine that can be like you. There's a very big difference.
Yes.
One is more practical. It's a empowerment tool. And that's already a big disruption. Yeah? But if you build a tool that can be like me,
Right.
That's what OpenAI, Microsoft, Baidu, that's what they want to do. They want to build a machine that can be like a human so that they can sell it, right? It's a product, right? And so it could be a robot, it could be software, it could be an app, it could be on the phone. It's a personal agent, that's like Siri, but 1,000 times as good.
Right.
So that agent becomes your friend,
Yes.
your partner, your trusted.
Yeah.
And that is probably a very bad idea.
Yes, but because a person obviously would not need another person because he has a very good partner who could, like an AI partner who would listen to them, to all the problems. And
I always say, there's a big difference between the tool
right
and a friend, or you say God, in some ways, because this technology makes us more like super powerful, and then we are dependent on it. Right. Like we are dependent now on the mobile phone, but if the battery goes out, you still exist.
Right.
Yeah. But if your AI agent is everywhere and runs your life, you cannot do anything without your agent. You become totally dependent, and you forget how to use your own thinking.
That's true. Like, I've been following also this AI agenda for some time, and I also don't have I don't have my opinion if it's good or bad, and that distracts me, to be frank. So from one hand, I use it. I use like the clip maker and all this kind of stuff for my podcast, for my professional life. But from the other hand, I always, again, from the professional life, because I'm working with the communications, I understand that this could really bring to the decline of the democracy, as you said. Because people don't have critical thinking at the moment. And then if a politician, not the politician, but somebody, an artificial intelligence will speak on behalf of him or her, can you imagine what would happen to poor electorate?
Yes, there's many issues with this. For example, if what you're writing or saying is not very intelligent, and then the machine can help you to sound a little bit more intelligent, right? But if you're writing stupid things, then the machine will make it slightly less stupid. But if you're really intelligent and you're very powerful already, then the machine can put you one more step. Superpower, right? So, for example, I write books, so now I use ChatGPT to suggest ideas,
Yes.
But I don't use the ideas and just copy them,
But this is you, but some others will do.
Some others do this. And
they do already, they sell already books.
And then what we have then is things that are effortless, without any effort and without any meaning, because effort and meaning sit together, right? You take an effort, you learn a different language, you learn how to cook and play an instrument. You have to make an effort, okay? When you take the effort away, you take the meaning away.
Right.
And some things can be done with less effort, okay,
Right.
but not with no effort.
Yeah, but I think like we're opening an Overton, window. This one, you are like, it's from one hand it's positive, but it can bring us to somewhere where we won't be able, like human beings, we won't be able to fight against machines because they are self-educating, right?
Well, there's a question. It's not a question of yes or no. It's a question of the degree.
Right.
So, for example, I can replace pieces of my body, like a kidney transplant,
Right.
or because I want to live.
Yeah.
Maybe I can fix my hearing with a cochlear implant, and if I have an accident, I can get an arm.
Right.
That's completely different than saying I'm going to change my body because I have a lot of money and it's available, so I get a better arm.
Right.
That's completely different.
Agree.
Right? So to address things that are necessary for prospering, that's one thing, but to become the intent to become a machine
Right.
and superhuman.
Right.
For example, I can live to be 150.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody wants to live longer, but within reason, it's okay. But it becomes extreme. It's a perversion.
Yeah.
It becomes it turns around the humanity into a machine, right?
Yes.
And then I become a machine. I'm useless. I'm no longer important.
Yeah, but people, I think, would want to live not longer, but happier. Would it make us happier? What do you think?
Well, this is basically the question, the difference between hedonism
Yes.
and happiness.
Yeah, that's
Hedonism means I am very big on Instagram. I get all these likes, and I
Yeah.
feel in the moment like people like me,
Yes.
So that's like a superficial happiness, Or I can talk to anybody in the world through the internet,
Yeah.
makes me happy, right?
Right.
But this is a different kind of happiness, The real happiness that humans want is meaning, relevance, love, emotions, relationships, and that takes an effort, right?
Right.
So what is happening right now is that we're letting hedonism become the substitute for happiness.
Yes.
And the AI will, of course, understands this, right? So it gives us more hedonism and more sensation.
Right.
Like, you can see like the latest Blade Runner movie, you have a holographic girlfriend, and you can make her do all kinds of things and dress up and, and that's hedonism. But when the power goes out, the girlfriend is gone, right? And you're alone.
Yeah.
This is why you have so many people who are extremely lonely now because they use digital tools to fight the loneliness.
Yes.
And when the tool is gone, they are nothing.
Yes.
Right.
And what about disappearance of many, I would say, professions? What would they do? Like if somebody, you gave an example with this with an arm, right? But somebody has to create like this solution, I don't know, for the arm, for example. If it's not a human being then, because it's obviously another AI that is making this kind of, revolutionary kind of treatments, what would other scientists, I don't know, surgeons or some physicians or mathematicians, would they do, since the machine calculates and does predictions as well and on its own?
Well, the machine currently and for the near future, it's very good with routine, commodity.
Right.
So, for example, you're doing your taxes or you're filing a bank report or you're doing a report or you're doing research and translating, routine commodity work. So the machines will take over the commodity work, right? So if your work is mostly commodity,
right,
you are in trouble. Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Okay,
Yes.
so driving is a commodity, but it's difficult for a machine.
Okay.
So you cannot have the machine drive in Astana. That would be difficult. But flying an airplane,
Yes.
the machine can fly the airplane, but we want the pilot because the pilot is
Yes, a human being.
you would not fly without a pilot. So basically, the machines will take all of the routines, and if you work in a call center, your job is 90% over. Yeah, this is just the reality of what machines can do. So if you're sitting in India with 3,000 people in a little cubicle and you take a call to change an airplane booking, sooner or later.
Yes.
Yeah, because the machine does not understand language very well yet.
Yeah.
But this is coming 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, even faster, I think.
Yeah, even faster. So this kind of work, or financial advice,
Right.
so you have 1,000 clients and you have portfolios and you have to look at the numbers and trim the portfolio. It's all logic based. There's no feelings, no emotions, no compassion.
Right.
It's all numbers, Yeah.
It seems to me that you are just like not convincing everyone that AI is here, because everybody is convinced, period. Then the next question is, what would we need to do to deal with it, to live with it? Like for adults, we have one thinking. The generation theory is also, I think, like relates to the penetration, to the acceptance, and to adjustment to the AI. Let's people of our age, close to 50, over 40, 60 plus, and the others, the youngsters. So what would be your advices for different generation people, how to cope, live with this
the
reality?
first thing we have to realize, that out of the thousands of things that AI can do, many of them are extremely positive. Yeah,
Absolutely.
And we don't want to lose those.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
So it's like nuclear power. We can make a power plant. Maybe that's positive. I don't know, but we can also make a bomb. Right.
Right.
So. William Gibson, famous science fiction author, he said that technology is morally neutral until we use it.
Right.
And so what we can do with AI is to say, okay, we can help cancer research, medical research, new medications, climate change. Yeah, very good for all of that, right? For us personally, it is more of a threat.
Yes.
Right? Because it can fake to be human. It pretend to be human. Like, if you're listening to ChatGPT speak, it can speak like James Bond or it can speak in any voice. It can speak in my voice. I have an avatar of myself, right? And that can be good if you make videos. But on the other hand, the fakeness and the distortion of real life, the machine does not understand real life. It just makes a copy of it. So it's very confusing for us. It undermines our relationships, makes us lazy, right? So we have to use, like any powerful thing, we have to use with moderation. I also like any drug, So drinking, eating, smoking, we try not to smoke, not to drink too much, but it's possible, right? We could if we want to. So the reality is that this is kind of like a drug, and we have to be very careful with how we use that drug.
Yeah, but what would I do? I mean, I don't want to lose my job, for example, and I see that the unemployment rate is drastically, going up because many profession has been replaced by the artificial intelligence. So,
but that's only been true in some ways. For example, journalism. Okay. Journalism has suffered and publishers have suffered from the internet. Okay. At the same time, we have a new kind of publishing which didn't exist, like podcasting, like social media. And that's very much driven by technology. Right? And more people can publish books now because they have better tools to write. And we have online bookstores. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? There is a shift. Like in agriculture, 100 years ago, 90% of European people were working in agriculture, and now it's 2%. Right? So we shift to new possibilities. However, I think the shift to intelligent machines means that many of us will not be working that much anymore because we can give the jobs to machines. So if you're a doctor or a policeman, you can tell the machine to do something for you, like an agent, right? So you will only work 3 or 4 hours per day. But in principle, you could make the same money because the productivity is high. Right? So the problem is not so much with technology, it's with our rules. So if you're a secretary, you use AI for scheduling, you can work much faster. So the boss can say, then you also work for 3 other people. So keep you very busy with the AI. Or you can say you get the same money, you have more time off.
Okay.
This is a question of our policy.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And I was just thinking, while you were talking, I was just thinking, so we are now over-consuming goods. So, and this is the result of the industry revolution, because it's a lot of production now. Don't you think that because of this growth of the AI, we will be over-consuming, overproduce the intelligent content, like books? Who's going to read them? If everybody can write books, who's going to read those books?
Right.
Don't you think there will be another boom of the intellectual product, let's say, which is not, which will not be able to be consumed by the audience?
I think people always realize when the content is real or when things are real.
Okay.
Like food, it's a great example. You can have very bad food and food that's not real. Fast food, kind of not real. Or you can be an astronaut and eat from the tube. It's possible. Or you can feed directly the food, right? So we have all these options. People like nice restaurants. They cook at home. They still do that.
Yes.
Yeah? That is because this is a human. Yeah. As long as we are human, we're going to ask for human experience. When we become more like a machine, that could change. For example, we would say it's too complicated to have a real wife or a real girlfriend,
Yes.
And I have a machine girlfriend, like people in Japan have machine dogs.
Yeah.
So
it started with Tamagotchi
right,
and ended up with an
And
AI friend.
So it's possible to envision that this could be an option for lazy people, so they prefer
Right.
the simulation to the reality.
Right.
This is a big problem because it would then dehumanize us.
Right.
So you would no longer be needed if
Yes.
I can have a fake reporter or, however, I think for the time being, humans like other humans and they will pay extra for other humans,
Right.
just like they pay extra for real food.
Yeah.
In 20 years, when technology is super intelligent, then the question is more about controlling it. Right now, it's about laziness mostly.
About the controlling, about the government regulations. Maybe in Europe there is a case, but I haven't heard it recently in the post-Soviet countries, that the regulation or maybe the Ministry of AI or something. Do you foresee this kind of changes in the government regulations? Let's take the driving, for example. As you said, there is no rules. For example, in Kazakhstan, we don't have rules for driving without the automatic driving, like machine driving on Tesla or whatever other car. And it's coming. It needs to be regulated somehow. So how fast do we need to change the government regulation on that?
Well, we have the International Atomic Agency. We need an international AI agency because AI is more powerful than nuclear. Because to make a nuclear bomb or a reactor, you have to have the material. It's complicated. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not so complicated to make a reactor, but it's complicated to make a bomb, a safe bomb. So not everybody can make one. And so we have been successful in regulating nuclear power and bombs. Because it's kind of possible, even though we have gray cases where we don't know if they have a bomb or not, right? With artificial intelligence, it's code, and I can use open source code from Meta to create a virus, So when we have this, we have to think about at what point does it become existential, So do I need a license, for example, to get this code,
Right.
And all these things would be possible, but this is going to have to be international. So it took us 17 years to make the non-proliferation treaty for nuclear weapons since Hiroshima. 1963, 18 years later, we have an agreement. Right? With artificial intelligence, we need an international agreement and an agency to supervise, not, simple software, translation. We don't need that, But for people to create superhumans or machines that can be like a human or pretend to be human or intelligent robots, humanoid robots, we need rules and standards that can be set on an international level. And I think this will be just like Hiroshima. We're going to see an incident where something goes terribly wrong with this technology. And then we we decide, okay, we have to work together to control this,
Right.
if it can be controlled.
But it's developing so fast. Do you think that the regulation will be like we won't have another 18 years? We have just 3 to 5, or maybe even 2 years to create all this, like to adjust to the changes.
Well, I think, the speed is basically by 2030, we will have a super intelligent machine.
Yes.
What's called AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right.
And that machine will be able to pretend it's human perfectly. I mean, it can kind of do that now, but, we make fun of it because, a lot of things are not working like translation. But we'll have a machine that can do that, and we have a machine that can tell the doctor what to do, and then the doctor will not know whether to follow his opinion or the machine's opinion, because the machine is just incredibly intelligent.
Right.
So that's going to bring up all kinds of problems. But I think on an international level, if you're looking at 5 years by 2030, we have to have this in place.
Yes.
So that we can control people who are bad actors, using this as a weapon. That we can control the military, using it as a weapon.
Right.
Because you make super soldiers, right?
Yes.
Or you can have drones that kill by themselves.
Yes.
Right? That's already happening.
Yeah.
And that we can have an agreement on who can own the ability to make such a weapon or such a software. Right? And we have to agree on standard for media. So how do I know you are real?
Right.
And what is, for example, you can make fake money. You go to jail very long time, but you make fake humans, everybody likes it. So fake humans can be fun for parody, but if we have the ability to copy humans, basically, we need to have similar laws than copying money. So all these things require international collaboration. And this is forcing us, like climate change, to come together or not. Now, climate change, we know if we don't collaborate internationally, we're going to have a 5 degrees of warming.
Right.
And we can see that now. So we're taking action. With AI, I think we're going to see things happening that are emergency situations, like the stock market crash,
Right.
airplane traffic control.
Right.
And then we say, okay, we've lost $1 trillion here, and thousands of people died,
Right.
and now we need standards.
Yeah. Well, for one hand, is the international standards. From the other hand, well, my personal belief is that any economy of the country depends on the culture, on the mentality of its country. And we see that how different people are going to kind of authenticity to the countries, and the economy is based on the authenticity of the countries, their set of mind. Since there's going to be an international, let's imagine, like regulations regarding everything, don't you think this may eliminate this element as a cultural difference between countries? If we have same standards on everything, same rules and regulations, and
I think that's true in some ways, but there's also universal things that we want, no matter where you live.
Yeah.
So you don't want to starve to death. You don't want to have a major disease. You want to have some freedom.
Right.
You want to have kids. That's the same everywhere. Whether you're an Afghani rebel or whether you live here, those things are the same. Whether people want 2 houses or 3 cars or what, that's different, right? But I call this the good future problem, because in reality is what we think is good for the future is pretty much the same around the world in basic terms, not in detail, but in basic terms. So, having rights and not being suppressed and, that sort of thing. And if we come up with rules to support that, then we need to also form new economics about how we want the future to be. So far we have very old economics, which are about money and progress and growth. My generation, basically, it's all about progress. No matter where you live, it's about that, right? Now we're switching to a new generation, the millennials, the younger people, the Gen Z, Gen Y, And they want a little bit more than just progress and money. They want purpose in the planet. And so now we're switching to a whole new economic paradigm.
Right.
If we don't make that switch, we're finished, right? Because we're going to the top and explode.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to launch AI for everybody until we destroy a social structure. Then we have crime and war, and then we're finished. But if we are able to switch to a new paradigm and agree on the components of a new capitalism or a sustainable whatever you call it, but it's not really capitalism. It's a new
futuralism.
It's a new story, right? So yeah, it has components of capitalism, socialism, communism. It has components of all of these things. So, but there's a new way of looking at why we do these things, right? And if we don't adopt that new mindset, there would be no reason for us to agree on regulation.
Right.
Because we're just looking for power.
Right. So, like, long story short, so you are thinking in order to cope with this, raising AI in all the spheres, in order to erase its bad side effect, people need to unify.
Well, if it's just going to be about one thing or two things, power and money, same thing, really, right? Then that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because, this is a free economy for the most part. People sell whatever they're going to sell, and we're going to end up with husband or wife robots. That's
and decline of birth as a result.
Right, and birth machines.
Yeah.
Gosh.
How could I didn't think of that?
Right. All of these things. Right.
Yeah.
So because it's business. Yeah. But if we have a larger destination, which is some people call the Star Trek economy, if we have a mission of having people, planet, purpose, prosperity, which is our only ticket, really, then we can say, okay, now it makes sense for us to say we could do this, we could make fake humans, but we won't, So artificial intelligence is the first time where we have to think about not doing things by choice.
Yes.
And not because we can't, but because it's not good.
It's our choice not to do it.
Right. So we would forego the chance to make a digital human.
Right.
And of course, there would be people doing it anyway. But, just like now, we would find ways to sanction them. Sooner or later, it means global consciousness. Because if we don't have that, we will not agree on the components of building the good future, then we'll just have a bad future, and then eventually no future. Then we merge into technology. We become...
And technology wins then.
Well, we become commodity.
Yeah.
A machine.
Yeah. Well, it scares me. I mean, I see that the Black Mirror, which in 2016 was a futuristic movie, it is a reality now. It's been just 8 years. So... how fast do we need to make those kind of decisions in order to avoid not to go to there is no way back?
I think this is why the next few years will be very chaotic.
Right.
This is why we already have the wars.
Right.
And this is why we have people voting for fools and for for tyrants, because when you're afraid of the future, you vote for the simple guy, like in Germany. So basically, the eastern part of Germany was voting and saying, okay, we want no immigration, because they are the problem. But of course, that's completely simplified.
Yeah.
But this looks like a good solution when you're afraid, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's like people vote for Hitler when they voted for Hitler because they were afraid, right?
Yeah.
So now we have the situation: people are afraid of the future; they do the wrong thing, right? And they are afraid of the future because they get the wrong information, and they don't get enough motivation to go look beyond this. So this will be temporary, but this is where we are right now. So right now, you can safely say it will get worse before it gets better. So this is forcing us to understand that we need to collaborate to solve things. Because if we don't do that, there is a potential of system collapse. Climate change, wars, nuclear. It's forcing us to consider that, makes us look for solutions.
Yeah.
Right. Like there will be a solution for all of those things, but some solutions are painful.
And again, speaking about culture, can I just back there again. So in some nations, it is the cultural values are very strong, like having many kids, like taking care of the parents, making this family values where the whole family gathers together. And don't you think that speaking about the birth and the difference in the population, these countries with more family ties and family values, that would be able to survive this, clash in the birth, and the loneliness, because they have different set of mind, and you cannot just take it out. I mean, even the machine cannot do it. So, and they will be continuing giving birth to real people and having, relationships with real people, and they're not lonely. So, don't you think because of that, the spread of the nations in the world will also change?
Yes, well, basically, you could even say that sometimes the countries are disconnected. Maybe they're better off.
Yes.
That's
from one thing, but from that, even if they are connected, they still will be like difference. Like I won't name the nations, okay? But you know what I mean. It's absolutely different. So for some nations, it is normal to have 3 to 5 to 7 kids. And in the more developed countries, they would prefer to work. They would prefer to have the fast life, to live for themselves, because the values are different, right? And obviously they don't have a partner and they don't give birth. So then the countries where the population is growing, shrinking. So how would, and this is the influence of the technology, is it?
Not only, I think it's quite likely when we have more technology, there's more globalization of these things. But the cultural differences are, despite technology, still very strong. And they will continue. Like, we use the internet in Switzerland completely different than Americans use it. For example, we would never interview for a job by using a camera with an AI that looks at my face.
Oh.
People do that in America.
They do.
Yeah, called higher view.
Wow.
Okay. So there's many solutions, like big companies are putting people in front of the camera with an AI to look at how you actually feel, like a lie detector,
Wow.
That would never work in Switzerland, In Switzerland we have lots of technology, but we tend to be very human.
Yes.
And I think a lot of countries will remain that no matter what. To continue on their own languages, for example. So we have applications that translate, like very soon on WhatsApp, I'm sure you can translate from Kazakh to German.
Yes.
By just speaking.
Right.
But does that mean you want to marry somebody that doesn't speak German or Kazakh and then use the app all the time? Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not that worried about culture disappearing or habits disappearing. And generally it's true, the countries that have more birth and more openness for having children, they take over.
Yes.
That is Asia,
Asian
Europe,
countries,
and Africa,
and African countries,
right? And not Europe, and that's not going to change in Europe. We're going to shrink.
Yes.
So it's those countries taking over: Brazil, India, Nigeria, Eurasia, Indonesia.
Right.
And there'll be more people from there. But that is a long cultural development that probably does not have that much to do with technology. There's other things like the impact of technology on culture, like creating music or so, right? Or having different goals. Like you can see a big change of culture in Bali from where the kids that used to do the dancing in the temple, now they have the internet and they've changed the way of thinking.
Yes.
That has a great impact. Yeah. So protection of culture, habits, and local things will be one of the agenda pieces of having certain protection in place that protects people from getting overly exposed to this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's still like, from one hand, I really we cannot escape the AI. From the other hand, I understand that it really influences the human brain, because if you are not needed, we are already feeling lonely with this forms and with all this, scares in the social media. We are looking for, as you said, hedonism, right? We're looking for these likes. And if everybody is an expert now, if everybody can speak beautifully with the help of an AI, write beautifully, and present himself beautifully, then who's gonna listen? Who's gonna?
I always say too much of a good thing can be a very bad thing.
Right.
So everybody can appear to be looking good or speaking good, because that's what the machine does. It appears good. But we, of course, know that it's not actually good. It just appears to be good.
Yeah.
So, if you use a lot of AI for work, like creative work, making pictures or writing text, you realize how limited it is, what it does. And it will get better. Right?
Yeah.
But human ingenuity, human intelligence is much more complicated than machine intelligence, because we have emotional, we have a body. Machines don't have a body.
Yeah.
You can make a body, but it still won't be ours. Yeah.
Right.
So every psychologist will tell you that we think with the body, not with the brain. So if you make a copy of the brain, you still don't have the whole reality of humans.
Right.
And it is possible to continue to improve that. So in 2050 we have that, but whether we should, that's a different question. Right. I don't think we should.
Yeah. And you were mentioning in your book this technological totalitarianism. So I think we've covered somehow it. So can you speak what are the challenges, or we already did, but maybe 2 or 3 key challenges that we see and we foresee and we have to start with?
Yeah, I think we have, of course, the increasing power of technology companies and the lobby. For example, in America, people will never regulate technology because it is the American product. It's basically the most American thing you can think of is technology.
Yes.
So they will never try to restrain it. This is what we do in Europe. We restrain technology because we want to keep people. We're humanists.
Yeah.
Right? America, not all Americans are technologists. Not all Chinese are into surveillance, It's not the same. But, we have this emphasis on what we want, right? So, and this is going to be very important that we agree on an overall emphasis on how we can do this, not just individually. So there are big cultural differences that will probably make that a little bit more difficult. But I see no way around agreeing on this.
So what is your personal attitude? I see that you see more positive outcomes rather than negative outcomes, right? Out of the AI.
I'm an optimist. I think that the future is better than we think, because we tend to have a negative bias because things are changing so quickly that we are worried,
Right.
And we see all the news. You watch too many news and you're in deep trouble. So the best way to be an optimist is to not necessarily consume all of the incoming, So too much of a good thing is a very bad thing. So too much information, it's like being obese, and when you're obese, you die, sooner or later, or you die early,
Right.
And when you're digitally obese, you're negative, right? Because that's all you see, right? So this is why I always say we need a campaign that allows people to envision the good future, not just the bad future. Because, we know the bad future from Hollywood and from Netflix and from, we know it's all bad, right?
Yeah, it's all bad.
So every film about the future is bad.
Yes.
It's, whether it's Don't Look Up or, whatever, it's bad, right? 95%. The only good thing about the future is Star Trek, right? So 95% is bad, So now we need a campaign. It's like, I love New York, was terrible New York in the 80s, And they made a campaign. Now we need a campaign that says, I love the future, because when you look at all of the things that we can solve, water, food, energy, disease, using science and technology, it could be heaven, when you think about, we may not have to work, right? I mean, this would not be a terrible thing if we don't have to work as much,
Yeah, but I mean, the life would be boring if we don't have to work. What
No, I
would we
mean,
do?
work for money, right? I mean, we, for example, we know there's an increasing need for workers in social healthcare, those public things,
Right.
There's, for example, having more people dealing with climate change, and reporting climate and all these things. We can employ millions of people, but we have to pay them, So there would be a different logic for work that could be very positive. So it's not working 12 hours a day to maximize my profit, That's a very narrow definition of life, that has been mostly my generation. So that is switching. And I think if we have a more positive story, then we can discover. It's like in therapy, You can discover a new story about your husband or your wife when you're in therapy, or if you don't discover it, then it's just over. Then you get divorced. Or you make a new story, you question your assumptions. A lot of people have an assumption that other humans are bad, mostly bad. It's proven, right?
Yeah.
Look at the war, and
That's true.
Right? But it's actually not true. It's just there are, of course, people that are bad, but generally speaking, we're perfectly capable of good things. We've proven many times. We're a little bit slow because of our background of reacting rather than anticipating. But we can solve that.
Yeah. Any economy is built on the people's weaknesses, like on human problems. And if we apply this approach to the AI, like AI is solving a lot of problems. And if there is no, sometime we expect that there will be no problems, right? No dry hair, no dry skin and whatever. I don't know. Having this approach, if AI solves all the problems, what would humans do
Well,
at the end?
AI will create other problems, of course. Right?
That's true.
So that's and generally speaking, I think there is no such thing as human happiness without effort, right? This is, of course, it's an illusion that we can solve all these things and then we're happy, right? This is not how it works. We'll find other things to be unhappy about,
Yeah.
So
That's indeed.
and this will just be an illusion that we have. And I think in many ways it's like we have to keep in mind technology is a tool. If I can solve cancer with technology, it would be a great reprieve, but there will be other diseases, and some of them will be based on technology, right? And again, human work and what we do as humans is not necessarily subject to making money. This is just the current paradigm. We work for money. Maybe in the future we work for the good. And for some sort of exchange, So just because, the old system has rewarded money and the stock market is based on money, and, this system will clearly not work in the future because a work-less society or a society with much less work could also be a kind of nirvana to where you would find other things that you really want to do. Like many people are not having kids because they're busy.
Yeah. They maybe have kids, right?
They have one, not four, like here. So this is a cultural question, but I think we're inevitably shifting towards a new paradigm. And I think the last time we had this big shift was 1968, when the whole world view changed. And now we're here, we have climate change, we have AI, we have wars, and now the worldview is changing and adapting and creating a new model. And that's really what we need to do.
Yeah. To your point with the Hollywood movies that are shown like bad outcomes of this is because people won't like to see the beautiful, future. They would not consume this. They will not pay for that.
It's human nature to enjoy dangerous things. Human nature is we pay more attention to the threat because we grew up in the desert and there's a threat, a lion coming, we have to do something, and now we respond to the threat about 10 times as fast as the good thing, right? But if we continue to fire the threat at us with news or films or read all the horror stories about what's happening, and then we emphasize, So it was a great futurist, Barbara Hubbard, who said that as we see the future, so we act, and as we act, so we become. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. We see the future as bad, we get worried, we act worried, we act fearful, aggressive, defensive. Yeah. That's the future that we make. Yeah. Right? So, that's always been true, but it's especially true now.
Yes. And for the young people, for the youngsters, like the new generation, what would you recommend to study at? Where would you recommend them to study, what to learn, and how to not to be lost, like in 10 years' time.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to study is other humans,
Wow.
Okay. Because basically technology will take care of itself very soon with programming. So it is important to understand technology, but not necessarily know how to program. I mean,
right.
If you know how to program, it's an asset. It's like playing guitar. It could be an asset.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing, but our ticket to the future is not science, technology, and engineering. That will be a ticket for some people.
Yes.
Depending on your talents and your likings. But the primary function that we have is to figure out what to do with the others,
right.
How to have intuition, how to have empathy, compassion, understanding, because machines can't do that. Yeah. Well, maybe eventually they can. We wouldn't want them to do that. But in principle, we don't want machines to do that, because it would obviously do away with us.
Yeah, but this is an insight to understand other humans. I've never thought of that. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And I'm just, we could speak for another 2 hours. I think it's an extremely interesting theme that, like, we are living in the current. It's not the future. It is the current.
I always say the future is already here.
It is here.
And we should not think of the future as tomorrow.
Right.
We need to think of the future as, that's why I call this the future mindset. As we move into the future, we are in the future, and we have to realize what that means. Basically, the old world is closing, crashing, and the new world is coming. And we're now at that point where the old is crashing and the new isn't here. Yeah, and so we're like, okay, what is the new? Where is it? And we're making it right now. And AI is part of this. So as we move into that future, for example, a future without oil and gas, which is coming, but it's confusing because we don't know how to make the bridge. And how to change our economy. So the best thing for young people right now is to be open to anything, and you can only do that when you have human skills, creativity, imagination, you can improvise. You don't follow the rule book from an MBA or something. You can make things up.
I was actually, that was a good point, because I forgot to answer this question. So as for the hard skills, the AI could create and could replace people. But as for the soft skills, it still cannot do it.
Because it doesn't exist,
right.
The thing about humans is we have existence, right?
Right.
Which means we have consciousness, human agency. Could you build an AI that exists? You probably could sooner or later, fake one. You could.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that, but you probably could if you wanted to, right? I think it's a very bad idea, and it's an idea that's been set forth by OpenAI and other companies, is to build a fake digital being.
Yes.
I think it's a very bad idea. But in principle, I would say what we need to do is everything the machine can't do. So there's compassion, there's understanding, there's emotions, there's all these things, love. A machine can fake love.
It can be taught to take care.
Yeah, it can be taught to act like it's in love.
Act as if, yes.
Yeah, like the facial thing. You can do that, but it can never be in love. Because it doesn't exist. So basically, my view is that because machines don't exist, they will only ever understand a certain percentage of real life.
Right.
Right now it's maybe 5% that they understand of real life.
Yeah.
So this is why you don't ask machines for important answers, because they don't understand real life. This is why you use Google Maps, but you ask questions.
Yeah.
Right? And if you use ChatGPT or whatever you're using, you have to question it.
Yeah.
Because, it's just a machine that is looking at data. It doesn't exist, right?
It's true.
It doesn't know reality.
So the human remains human.
I think we have to make sure that we're allowed to remain human.
Yeah.
You're
very precautious about that.
Yeah. I think we could position ourselves that we would be forced to be less human, like hire people with an AI, or replace the judge with an AI, or, that's very tempting because we want to save money, and we want to everything without effort. So to me, we need something like a human protection agency or something, like a council that says, okay, we could do that, but if we do that, then we lose our humanity, which is not a good thing. It may be be more efficient, but it's not good. And we should always keep the human in the loop. So in the military, we should use AI, but not allow the AI to fire, just because it says this guy is a terrorist, according to the data, Humans should fire, and humans should make those decisions,
Okay. I would like to thank you for this interesting conversation. It was really like an eye-opener to many aspects, so that we have to regulate it. We have to make the technology work for humanity, but not versus. not fight with the humanity.
And I think it's possible.
It is possible. Thank you very much again, and I think it was an interesting visit to Kazakhstan for you as well.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Yes, and I hope you will come next time. We will talk to you in 10 years' time and see how we come to where we come to, right?
Let's make it 5 years. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
5 years. That's
Thank you.
Thank you very much.